If I can, you can. Today I just want to share a testimony of a time where the Holy Spirit came on me in boldness and God came through in an amazing way. I believe this happened in 2016. Jake and I were living in our loft at the time. We used to own a condo in Minneapolis off of Chicago and Lake where the global market is, which is actually where the death of George Floyd occurred and all of that. So right behind where our condo was is the greenway. So you could go down a stairwell and it would bring you to like an underground trail, and about 2 miles from where our condo was is like the lakes in the uptown area. So me and Jake would sometimes go on bike rides and jogs there. One Sunday morning I really wanted to go for a jog before church. Jake wasn't too fond of me going for a run by myself just because there are a lot of homeless people that sleep underneath the bridges and it is a high crime area. The 2 mile radius basically leading up to the lakes in uptown. But I won that morning. And so I went by a run for myself in the morning, convincing him that the morning time it would be more safe. And there are there's like these steel poles probably every half mile or quarter mile that you can hit for emergencies, and it will trigger for the police to come. And they have that just because there are a lot of shootings and there's a lot of drug dealing that goes on in the area. And so I was going for a run that morning, just feeling full of gratefulness and feeling God's presence. A lot of time on my jogs, that's when I'll just really feel super close to God. And so I was just praying over the land and worshiping Him and praising Him. And I passed these Latino men that were underneath one of the bridges, and they were drinking and popping some pills. And God just really pricked my heart for them. I love Latino culture. I speak Spanish, and man, if I could live overseas, I would in a heartbeat, but I feel like God's called me here and I'm called to go out. But anyway, so God really pricked my heart, and I felt like He was telling me to go speak with them. And I was like, well, I promised Jake that I'd behave myself today. And so I kept running, but the Holy Spirit just kept prompting me. And so I was like, okay, God, I promise that when I turn around to go back to the condo, I'll stop and I'll talk to them if they're still there. And I was like, God, if this is really you, like, I need to know for sure that your presence is still here with me. I don't want to just do something unwise. I want to do whatever you've called me to with wisdom. If God has called you to it, He will protect you. And so yeah, I just felt God's grace and peace coming over me, and I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was supposed to go and speak to these guys. So on my way back, as I saw them underneath the bridge still, I decided that I would approach them. So I was jogging, and as I got closer to them, I stopped jogging. I kind of slowed to a walk, and I was like, God, I literally don't know what I'm gonna say, but I'm just gonna go. So I kind of like don't even remember that like 30 seconds leading up to approaching them because I was just so nervous. But next thing I know, I am standing in front of this group of men. There's probably 5 or 6 of them. They dropped their alcohol and they kind of scrambled and hid the pills. And in perfect Spanish, because I hadn't spoken Spanish in a while, it's not like I speak it every day. In perfect Spanish, I shared the gospel and asked if anyone wanted to receive the Lord. And I shared how I had a chronic back injury for 6 years that God had healed me of. And one of the men, I don't know who all received Jesus because I basically just had an invitation and showed people how to and walked them through it. But it wasn't like I had people coming up to me and raising their hands or anything. But there was one guy, his name was Jesus, and he was getting really, really touched. He did give his life to the Lord. I think it might have been a recommitment, or maybe it was his first time. And afterwards I said, does anyone want prayer for healing in their body? And he came up to me, and in Spanish he told me about how he had arthritis in his hands, and he in Mexico used to work with his hands, and he just was having a chronic pain and couldn't really move his fingers very well, and his fingers were like really puffed up and large. And then he said he had a lot of chronic pain throughout his body, like in his spine and back. And then he had a third ailment too. Oh, heavy breathing in his chest, really heavy breathing. And he said he had a lot of fear, but he couldn't go to the doctor because he was an illegal immigrant and he was afraid that if he went, he'd be found out. And so I just laid hands on him and began to pray, and he had tears, and it was super beautiful. And when I was done, it wasn't a long prayer or anything. I just prayed for the Holy Spirit to come. He was just beaming, and he's like breathing. He's like, holy cow, the pain on my chest is completely gone. He started moving his fingers, perfect movement in the fingers. His spine and everything was like God just did it all. And the man was in tears, and we were hugging, and it was so powerful. It was definitely not me. It was the Holy Spirit. And he was like, wow, I really want to find a church nearby. I don't have a car. Do you know of any Spanish-speaking churches in the area? And can I have your phone number? And I was like, I don't have pen and no paper. I don't even have my phone on me. And I was like, granted, I live in the area. I don't go to church in the area, so I honestly don't know. Let me run back home and check, and I'll come back. And so I ran home. I told Jake, and Jake's like, we're going to be late to church, and you invited your friend to church, and she's not even saved yet. Like, hurry up. So I shouted really quick, and on our way to church, me and Jake dropped back by the area, and we met up with Jesus and the people he was with. And Jesus basically just like shared with Jake, and I translated everything that had happened, that all the pain left his body, his lungs were healed, he could breathe, pain left his fingers, chronic pain in his back, like he just was so touched still by God. And then Jake shared his testimony of freedom from drugs, and I translated for Jake. It was a super cool moment. And then I gave him our phone numbers, and I gave him the location of a Spanish-speaking Assemblies of God church that actually was in walking distance from his home. So it was super, super powerful. And so I just wanted to jump on here really quick and share this testimony because I'm just a little white girl, and I'm shy. Yes, I am quiet and reserved and shy. I get on and do these videos only because I feel like I'm supposed to. If you get to know me, yeah, I'm probably more outgoing and quirky. But if you don't know me, I'm probably the quiet, shy girl in the back of the room. But if God can use me like this, He can use you like this. And this doesn't mean you go into a dangerous area by yourself and just start preaching the gospel. I only did that because the Holy Spirit was all over me, and I felt complete peace about it. And He protected me, and I saw amazing breakthrough. So dig into God. Ask Him what He's calling you to do. Be inconvenienced in your day. We live busy lives in America. We need to be willing to be inconvenienced. We are called to live a lifestyle of Christianity. I was not a missionary at this point in my life. And I mean, the way that I think of the Christian life is we are all missionaries in our daily life. Like at my job at that time, I was constantly sharing about the Lord with coworkers. I wasn't always saying Jesus, but I was a witness, and I was constantly being I had like a lot of favor in my life, and my coworkers would ask me, why are you doing so well? Why do you have such a positive attitude? And how come you're always happy? And like this was just a Sunday morning before church on a run. Like we are called as believers to live a lifestyle of Christianity. We are missionaries everywhere we go. And yes, being inconvenienced by God is not always fun if you're in a hurry trying to get somewhere. Let me tell you, it is like a struggle against our flesh to be obedient to our spirit and to be obedient to God, but it is so worth it. What if someone today is plotting to take their life, and you hearing just a little prompting from God, you stopping for just 5 minutes to talk to someone and to love on them could literally save their life. So I just want to throw that out there. If God can use me, a shy little white girl, He can use you. Ask Him to fill you with your presence, to give you boldness, to give you wisdom, to speak through you and to use you. And I will promise you this, if you step out and you don't even know what to say, He will always show up. I'm the awkward person that when God tells me to do something, I step out and I don't know what I'm going to say. And the first 30 seconds are probably usually really awkward for me and the person. But then God always shows up and wows me. So just step out, be bold, be courageous, be a missionary everywhere you go. This is the real Christian walk. This is how people get saved, set free, and delivered. It's not about religion. It's about relationship. It's authentic. It's real. Holy Spirit fire. Woo! Hope you have a blessed day. Be bold. Love you guys.